Chris, New York City, great WABC, go.
Hello?
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 Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Hi, Mark. I just wanted to bring
Hello.
something to your attention. It's a bigger fraud that's going on.
Yes, I know. His name's Obama. Go ahead.
No, it's actually Holder. Holder sued he's been suing the banks, the mortgage agencies, and in their settlement, the banks are forgiving mortgages, and I think that's just to cover up his the bigger fraud that was going on.
Let me tell you something. There's much truth in what you say. There's a person who, for over 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, lived down the street from me, and this person hadn't paid his or her mortgage for 2.5 years. 2.5 years they lived for free in this house. I'd say it's a 4,500 square foot house. They lived there for free. Then there was, and the bank, and I know which bank, was offering to pay this person $25,000 just to leave. And they wouldn't leave. This is how screwed up our federal and state laws are, ladies and gentlemen. You know, you hear these stories. Oh, the banks are threatening. I'm telling you this anecdotal story right now. It was a she. She wouldn't leave. So they offered her $25,000, then they offered her $30,000. She still wouldn't leave. So, okay. So back in August, there was a short sale. I don't pretend to understand what all that means, but I have a general working knowledge of it because I watch HGTV. Well, anyway, so there was a short sale. In August, the people finally moved in 2 weeks ago. So how long is that? 8 months, something like that?
Uh-huh.
And the woman fought them right to the end. Right, she wouldn't get out. And finally she left. She was there 2.5 years, didn't pay a penny, principal, interest on the mortgage. She surrendered it. They offered her money to leave. She wouldn't leave. They sold it under a short sale. She wouldn't leave. Finally, they got her to leave. I mean, multiply that times 2 or 3 million.
She becomes a squatter.
Exactly, a squatter.
Yeah.
And you know what? These people think that, I have a right. You don't have any rights. You're not paying your bills. And yet, because the federal government has intervened now, and these banks, let's be honest, the banks, in essence, have been nationalized. In many respects, 80% of what banks do is run through the federal government. They can't even post a sign, men's room, ladies' room, without the federal government approving it. This is true, folks. It's gotten so bad. Oh, the banks, I hate the banks. Fine. But the banks are controlled now pretty much by the federal government. And so are your mortgages. They're pretty much controlled by the federal government, too. So what you have is, and this gentleman's right, you have squatters. You have squatters. So the losers, the people who've made mistakes, the people like I have, we all have, now suddenly they have rights. We don't even know where they came from because now they get to live in these houses forever. And what does it do to the entire housing market? It kills it. It makes it harder to get loans because there's so many bad loans because it's much harder to recoup, to sell the asset, the house, and move on. Go ahead, Chris. You got 1 minute.
Yeah, the only way you can get a loan now is to go to the banks that the states and the government sanctions.
That's correct.
There's a blog called Noticing New York that you really have to look at. It talks about Sotomayor's reign over at Sunny Mae, which is the state of New York mortgage agency, which is a really corrupt organization.
All right, my friend. I'll run there right after the show tonight. All right, Chris. Thank you, my friend. You know, next hour we gotta make things a little more chipper here. This isn't the suicide hotline after all.